Keep the gamer lane.
Call to order. Welcome to today's meeting. It's Friday, October 7th, 2022. This is Student Government, the Student Advocacy Council. Please put your attendance in the chat if you haven't already done so, council members. That'll be appreciated. And then we move on to part B. I just want to thank everybody for the hard work that everybody's doing. And I also just want to remind everybody to take care of themselves and not overextend themselves in ways that will put their academics, if that's their priority, on the back burner. And just continue to care for yourselves, because that's how we'll best be able to care for others. And with that, I pass the floor over to Paul for his opening statement. Thank you, Paul.
Thank you, Dan. So I just want to say thank you, colleagues and fellow students, for making the time to be here. I do really think the work we're doing is important and impactful. And I'm personally proud to be a member of this council, to call you all my colleagues. I've taken a lot of committee assignments on here on the council, and I believe I've stretched myself far too thin. And it's begun to affect the quality of my work in these various committees, my schoolwork, and my many co-curricular activities here on campus. And so in pursuit of more efficacious advocacy, I'm going to step away from the following committees to address this and to spend my energies in a more focused manner. So I'll be stepping away from the Budget Committee, the COVID Response Committee, the Student Travel Committee, and the Social Media Committee. I will remain on the Indigenous Student Resources Committee, the Governing Documents Committee, and I will remain as your co-chair. That's all I have to say. I thank you all for hearing me out.
Thank you for that.
Wait, one more thing if I can. I forgot to mention, I will not be here next week. I'm going to a conference in Kent State, Ohio. It's the Students for a Democratic Society convention, where I hope to really, meet with other progressive students across the country and, maybe reignite some of my passion for this advocacy, I think, or just kind of, pick the brains of fellow students across the country and see what kind of good change you're advocating for on their campuses. So I will not be here next Friday, but I will be doing good work to try and help inform the work I do on the council. So just wanted to give a heads up, won't be here next Friday.
Thank you, Paul. All right, so let's move to approve the agenda. I sent out the agenda and then resent out an amended agenda with an additional item that was requested. So hopefully everybody's got a chance to read that, and I am going to move to approve the agenda. Does anybody want to make any changes to the agenda for today's meeting? If so, now's your chance. Great.
I'd like to add a comment at the very end of the meeting, following B, the resolution in new business, to discuss briefly our goals.
Okay, so you want to, after C of new business, speak to the goals? Okay.
In C of new business, just briefly to talk about an email I plan to send to our entire council.
Awesome. Is anybody opposed to Ree's addition to the new business after Taylor's resolution and Naomi's resolution on Indigenous Peoples Day? Going twice? Hearing none. All right, the agenda has been amended. And approved. All right, on to reports and committee updates. Governing Documents Committee, Paul.
The Governing Documents Committee doesn't have anything really new to report. I will say that we do continue to have somewhat of a low attendance to our live meetings. And so if there is a better time and you're on the Governing Documents Committee, please send into our chat where you'd rather we'd meet. If there's not a better time for you, keep doing what you're doing, and we'll try and lean into the asynchronous collaboration, as many of you have done, and I appreciate that. But really, nothing terribly new to report there.
Thank you, Paul. SACAB, Mike, what's yours?
Hello. So SACAB met today for a few meetings. The first was the bylaws meeting. That went very well. My hope is by the end of this month or next month, I will have some bylaws to present to you guys and give you guys' seal of approval before we send them off to the board of directors for AHEC. Secondly, was like three things here. The CFO of AHEC came in today, gave us a very open and honest presentation on the funding for AHEC. Very interesting to see kind of where the funds go and how everything's kind of spent around here. So if you have any further questions on that, I can answer those probably a little bit later. independently of that. What else? Lastly, SACAB has a request for this council and any friends of this council or any respective students looking to get involved with student government. We have 5 committees that need MSU students to be filled. So we've activated 5 committees. I've listed them previously. I don't have them top of my head, but the way each committee in SACAB is made up is it's one student from respective institutions. And it does not have to be a student government representative. It could be someone who's just interested in representing students. We prefer it be student government only because you get paid that way. But either one works. We've had some volunteers. So like Jody, very friend of the council, she's joined one of our committees, and I'm looking for some more people right now. So I'm just putting an announcement out there now, and expect to see posters and stuff like that, and other people in our office to kind of help with that advocacy. So thank you so much.
Thank you, SACAB. Gabe's not here. Board of Trustee is at a retreat, or Board of Trustee representative. And so we'll move on to Chad, Social Media Committee.
All right. So Social Media Committee, one of the updates that we have is we've consolidated who posts for all of our social medias. This helps free other individuals up for more of the creative process, as well as some of the other advocacy that they are doing on the council. So the next focus that our committee is going to be working on is our secondary website that is going to be hosted off-site of the MSU servers, as well as the idea of a podcast. I've made an outline if anybody is interested in being a part of the creative process. With that, please let me know. Some of the items that we're going to be focusing on in this podcast are going to be like such as like council check-ins, updates on news and events around the campus, student orgs, and student talent as well. And then potentially with that student or the news on campus, we can talk about some of the issues that surround the campus, as well as how our student government is addressing those issues and how we can help with that. And then additionally, I wanted to reiterate a goal that the Social Media Committee came up with early on, and that goal was to double the number of followers on all of our platforms by the end of the fall semester, so by the end of December. I'm going to put links in the chat momentarily. If y'all are not following, please do. And then please share those links with everybody so that way we can attain this goal and we can have better student engagement on our social medias. That's all I have.
Thank you, Chad. CSGC representatives, I'll take that. So I think the 21st is when the next meeting is. There's also a poll that they put out to see when it would be another good time for everybody to come together at the Capitol and meet at the Attorney General's State Attorney's office for a big in-person CSGC coalition meeting. And just another reminder that if anybody's interested in joining that Slack, just let me know and I can put your name in that Slack. And that has, I think, 7 students from 17 institutions, or has the potential to. I'm not certain students from every one of those institutions has actually joined that, but the more the merrier, and there's a lot of good information and advocacy going on there. So I definitely invite anyone who reach out to me or Paul, and we can get you in there. And that's all. As soon as we have a meeting, we will update that accordingly. Policy Advisory Committee.
So everyone will have gotten an email that I forwarded about the policy for externally funded projects for the university regarding pre-award spending. So if you haven't had the chance to look at that and provide your insights, there's a link for you to note any comments that you have. And it's pretty straightforward. So hopefully you've gotten that. And that's what we're working on right now.
Thank you, Ree. The TSAC Budget Committee, Mike.
Hello. So not much. We did not meet this week, but we plan on meeting Monday afternoon. Like a suggestion, Armando, we have some questions budget-wise for you. If you can make that meeting by chance, just I'll put that there. Now that we have our executive assistant back, one thing I've been struggling with is like making each of like the packages that we need. So like we're out of some consumables from our last package. So I have a list of kind of packages that need to be passed. One that's more urgent at the moment is like do I say this? Health and wellness package. So this is masks, this is hand sanitizer, this is tissues for the office, maybe even some cold medicine, some cough drops. So we're getting into the winter season, and I believe that's really good to have this available for us, for students. So that's my goal in the next meeting, is to make sure that is ready to be voted upon immediately. So,
Go ahead, Paul.
I just had one question about the cough drops and the cough medicine. Question, comment, really more of a comment. I fear that by having that stocked in our office, we might be encouraging or presenting a situation in which a sick student or a sick colleague of ours would find it acceptable to come into the office. And I question anyone's ability to personally determine whether or not they've got COVID in the absence of a test. And we know those tests, we get 4 of them every 6 months or something like that. And so I don't know. I want to raise a question is like, should we have cough drops and cough medicine in the office? And or maybe if we do have them, it comes with a strong advisory that if you are sick, please stay home.
Ooh, that's good. Naomi, do you have anything?
I see your point on that. I think that really would possibly encourage that, but I also see that it would be a good idea because sometimes those students are just, me personally, I experienced that I didn't have strep, I didn't have COVID, it was like a head cold, I guess, but it's because the overwhelming amount of stress that students get put under, it is a natural response in your body to release those specific viruses. So it is a stress response in your body to have those specific symptoms. So a cold medicine can potentially repress those, although we should recommend that when they do get those, that they need to but they need to go and get tested for COVID as well. And of course, we can't make them, but we should strongly advise it as well. But I do understand that under certain circumstances, you do just happen to get these symptoms under a significant amount of stress as well.
Thank you, Naomi. Bree?
Just a quick clarifying question about this. Anything that we supply in the office the intent is for the general student population use. When I had suggested cold supplies and Kleenex and things, I thought it was because we were in the office for office hours, and it would be for us if we're, having a sore throat and would know, of course, if we have COVID or not and wouldn't be in there.
Did you have one, Joe? Oh, okay. What I say to all that is, many of you are on the budget committee. If you guys don't think we need that stuff, it can just be simply voted down. But I just plan on putting it up there because it's the winter. Stuff happens. There's more colds than just COVID, and all of a sudden you need a cough drop. So that's my consent, my theory, my stuff for putting it on there. So, but if it gets voted down, it gets voted down. So,
Thank you, Mike. Appreciate that. Faculty Student Affairs Committee, Bree, you have the floor.
So we had our first meeting this week, and emphasis is really on our being able to present, or my being able to present, the work that we're doing as TSAC and representing the student body, and then they, in turn, take that information back to the faculty senate, right? So they will communicate anything we need through their networks to different departments, to faculty, and staff for us, which is great, I think. And I told them in the minutes of our meeting, I talked about what the council has done to fight food insecurity with the food pantry so far, working and the advocacy, that you took part in for that, and in trying to get matching donations as well, the school supply drive and what we're intending with that, the green purchasing agreement, and how we're working to increase engagement in all different facets around campus, and for elections too, engagement for that. And there are a number of other things that, we'll be working on coming up this term, but that's what the information I gave them. They said open educational resources is something they're also charged with working on for the Senate, and investigating how they could support those efforts for students. And there's also Military Advisory Council. There's a gentleman on the committee from that group, and discuss ways to better have service for military students and veterans. And they had to select, as well as we did, a student for that student advisory board. So another student was chosen for that. I was Not interested in that, but it's a committee charged with really student welfare. And so when we have anything in particular we need their support with, they are happy to support us. So please, let's keep that in mind going forward. We're only going to meet one more time this term, and I'm not sure when, but we can get in touch with Barbara as the chairman at any time.
Thank you, Ree. Sustainability Committee, Taylor.
Okay. There's no real update with Sustainability Committee. Alex and I are just meeting with ASCP after this meeting.
Alex, would you like to add anything?
I have recently called Doug, which is Denver Urban Gardens. I have not heard back from them, but I've done some just research about what it is that it would take to start the gardening on campus. And I've talked to some students around campus who all think it's a really great idea. But I don't really have any other update besides that.
Awesome. Yeah, thank you, Alex. Yeah, they're the ones who are in charge of that garden next to the science building as well. So good call on that. Thank you. Taylor, Events Committee.
We haven't had any events recently, and I recognize that we are all busy. So one thing that I would like to say about Events Committee, just an idea that I have, is just that we go and sponsor more events. I think that's a good way for us to get our name out. It seems like, Mike, you have something to add.
I do, yes. I'll keep on stressing this. I think we need a chair for the events committee. Just someone whose main goal is to be this is their committee to run and be in charge of, I think. I think the people who are on the events committee have a lot kind of going on. If someone is the main focal point of that, I think a lot more would get done with the events committee. So I definitely stress that we need someone to chair that.
I like your idea for sponsoring more events. I also think something that we can do as a council is to just table just random day, random Thursday, whatever. We just go out and table, and just like we did at Fall Fest, create more awareness for the student government, because a lot of people that I spoke with had no idea that we even had a student government, and they have no idea that we're a different type of student government or what we could do for them. So just a bug in the ear idea.
Naomi?
Yeah, I completely agree with you, Chad, on that. Is that like people really don't understand that we are here, that like MSU does have a student government, nor what type of student government that we are. And I think that to add on to your tabling event idea, I think that at those tabling events, we could get like food or something, like, small snack items or something to just offer them while they're there. Or like see if we could just cater from Subway, like a couple sandwiches, and they could just pick up a mini sandwich as they go, you know what I mean? And just provide them with like a sign up sheet, like, what questions do you have? What resources do you need? Give me your school email so we can, get back to you on like what we can do for you in order to like find those resources. Or opportunities, events, whatever going on within MSU, or even try institutionally at that point as well. So I think that's something we could add to our tabling events to really get student engagement and for them to see that like, we do care, we are here, and to come to us with your thoughts, plans, and concerns.
Thank you. All right. COVID Response Committee. Paul.
Thank you. This will be my last update for the COVID Response Committee. And I just want to quickly say, if anyone feels like taking on a committee, especially if your committee load is a little light, I would encourage you to take up this one. It's a particularly, I would say it's a particularly easy assignment, because really you're there, you're sitting in the meeting, and you're taking notes about the report. And I'll read you the notes from last week's meeting here, or just this last Tuesday's meeting that we had. Now, I just want to reiterate, these are the words of the other members of the COVID Response Committee. They're not my own. So COVID-19, overall COVID-19 positivity rates are not concerning, and the health center at Auraria, in consultation with CDPHE, is no longer tracking cases. We've heard that before, so that's not new. The new bivalent second booster is now available for free at CVS and Walgreens, and will be available at the health center at Auraria on Monday, September 19th. This booster adds additional protections against the Omicron variant. I suggest you get it. And further to that point, they've already they've given out, or they've administered 400, a little less than 400 total. It's like 50-50 between 50-50 between Pfizer and Moderna, but 400 is particularly low. And so we're trying to brainstorm ways to like pump those numbers up. Also on monkeypox, because we're also, I guess, the monkeypox response task force, we say that the health center at our area is providing testing for monkeypox, and the vaccine is available through the state of Colorado. I have a link with more additional information on that. I can send it to you if you like. I just need you to know that you want it. The health center at our area is providing testing for monkeypox, and it will be offering the vaccine when the state allocations are distributed. Campus community will be informed when the monkeypox vaccine is available on campus. So I do see a hand. Alan.
Yeah, I'll take that committee over if nobody's disagreeing with it.
Is anybody opposed to Alan retaking on the COVID response committee? Hearing none, Alan. There you go. You're the chair, or the representative of of student government.
Thank you.
Thank you, Alan, for taking that back up. It's
You're
just
welcome.
the first Tuesday of every month. I'll make sure, I'll check the invite and make sure you're on there. That way you can get into the meetings and whatnot. But yeah, so I appreciate you. Now, that's everything we have for the COVID response committee. Yeah, signing off.
Thank you. All right, student travel committee. Reed, just keep it. We have a presentation in 9 minutes. So
Sure.
all right, cool.
Just briefly, today we had a presentation from Lifestyle Medicine Interest Group for the conference coming up in Orlando. Very professionally done, and I think it's safe to say they were successful in receiving the funds to be able to attend.
Congratulations to that team. Naomi, go ahead.
Read something for if like students come to you, or just I guess us in general, when it comes to like the student travel committee, is that there is a new, I don't know if it's pretty new. It's a program over at the Career to Hub. It's called the identity-based development program or something like that. And what it is basically like, it's usually like groups of students, but individuals can go there as well to ask for funding to something that like helps develop their identity in whatever way they decide that is. It doesn't have to be professional. It can be educational, spiritual, whatever that helps them develop their identity. And I did ask them specifically if that can be for classes that are abroad, and they said that that is something that they're looking to fund at as well. So they do have funds and they're looking to disperse, so send students that way as well.
And when you say C2 Hub, that is also Dave Barossa partnering with the C2 Hub on that, right? Okay, awesome. Thank you for that, Naomi. And then you've got the floor. The Indigenous Student Resource Committee. Do you have an update, Naomi?
I do. I also have I have a meeting coming up on the 7th with Sophia. That might have been today. Anyway, with her as well to discuss what further action we need to take as TSAC, and then to forward that on to others SGAs as well. And then Dan and I were also speaking about possibly getting a pre-made email set up to advocate for this bill that's being written to replace Columbus Day with Indigenous Peoples Day instead, federally, not just state or county, but federally. So hopefully we can get that on the roll. And then thirdly, there will be, I don't know if you guys know what ICWA was, but it's the Indian Child Welfare Act, and it's currently being threatened by the federal government to basically take away our children once again. So we will be having the NARF, which is the Native American Rights Fund. Their lawyers are some of their lawyers that are working directly on the case are going to be doing a presentation virtually from 12 to 1 on November 10th, Indigenous Peoples Day. So yeah, go ahead if you can get a chance to check that out. The links will be coming up soon, and I can provide those to you guys as well.
Go ahead.
I just have a question, and then, well, yeah, just a question. When is our committee meeting for the Indigenous Student Resources Committee? Because as a member of the committee, I love the work that's being done. I fully support it. I'd like to get in on it. So I'm just curious when we're meeting, and/or if we could.
He's asking when this Indigenous Student Resource Committee meets.
It's up in the air, honestly, just because everyone has such busy schedules. that we're just kind of like, just communicate with me when you can about when you have availability and we can make it happen. But right now there is no set days because, as you know, everyone is, it's hard to pick a specific day every week. But I'd be open to doing Saturday mornings if anybody else would be in agreement with that.
So thank you, Naomi. So it looks like, yeah, Alex, Paul, I, and you have signed up for that committee. So that would be awesome. I'm sure all of us can meet around that time, but please, let's get a meeting started. That would be fantastic. Thank you. Okay, the President's Cabinet meeting has not met yet between last week and this. And so as soon as that happens, an update will be brought to the council at large. And then Armando, floor is yours. Or is Dr. Barone here too?
Yeah, Barone, if you have
Barone.
I'm here. Do you want to go first, Armando?
Yeah, sure. I don't have too many updates. Where my thing go? I just wanted to mention the Student Org Carnival is on November 3rd. Registration for that closes on 10/21. I will get you all the registration link for that. It's kind of like another fall fest. It'll be in the Tivoli Turn Hall 5 to 8. You know, good chance for y'all to get out there tabling. I just wanted to get an update on you all where we stand with the whole mission, vision, goals, outline, and things. But I think that's what you put on the agenda, correct, Ree? Okay, so we'll talk about that after. Yeah, I think that's really it. Dr. Brown, if you have anything.
Sure. Okay. I reached out earlier this week to invite a few of you. I think it went out to the co-chairs, SACAB, and our trustee to join Student Engagement and Wellness Directors meeting. I thought it would be really beneficial to get an update of what y'all are doing with the broader directors group. I think I have about 11 or 12 directors who attend that meeting, just so that they have a better idea of what good work is happening with TSAC, but to also find ways to support your work and better ways to collaborate and partner. So thank you to those who responded, and you will be getting that invitation link soon. It is virtual. That will be on Wednesday. So I just wanted to share that. I also wanted to share that Armando already talked about the goals. I typically put together, Armando and I will be putting together a briefing for senior leadership. And so would love to be able to include the good work you all are doing, what committees you're on, the goals, the values that y'all identify during your retreat, all of those things. So I just want you to know that that's how that information is going to be shared. And it will be shared with the president and other senior leaders, including, I don't know about the board of trustees, I don't usually share it with them, but just want you to know that that is something that I typically put together around mid-semester, which is now in October. And then the other thing I wanted to also share is that Angie Moreno, last week I talked about her coming to a future TSAC meeting or connecting with you all to talk about strategic planning, which was one of the goals you all identified that you wanted to be more involved in or get more student voice at. And so she reached out to me and wants to know if you all would be okay with her coming on October 21st. And I sent that request to both Paul and Dan, but just wanted to let you know that that was something else that we want to do and to present on to learn more from you all and to hear from her about the strategic planning process for student affairs specifically. I think that's all I got. Oh, and I lead conference next Friday for those who enrolled or registered for that. I'll look forward to seeing you there. I think that's it.
Awesome. Thank you, Dr. Rowan. Yeah, I was responding to your email saying, yes, we can get them on the agenda, but then my computer died right then. So I will, okay. I think, yep. So that is fine on the agenda. Thank you. You're welcome.
Sorry, I've been bugging for a lot of things lately. Thank you.
That's okay.
Sorry.
You're very welcome. Yeah. Thank you so much. Okay. So Evan, are you here to present? Awesome. Well, the floor is yours.
All right. Can you guys see me, hear me okay?
Can. Thank you.
Awesome. So my name's Evan Code. Just to tell you a little bit about me, I am the Assistant Director of Annual Giving here on campus. I work for the Alumni Engagement and Annual Giving team in the Office of University Advancement. So for those of you who don't know who we are, we're essentially the fundraising arm and the alumni engagement arm of the university. You know, we obviously fundraise, but we also, work with our alumni, get them involved with events on campus. We do a lot of things like homecoming, things like that. So anyway, I'm here today because we've heard that there's some interest from student government in supporting the food pantry on campus. And so we wanted to talk to you guys a little bit about that. I know there's been some talk about budget transfers, which are great. But we wanted to kind of discuss with you all about perhaps getting maybe some more traditional fundraising going, seeing how we can help you guys if you are interested in doing that, because we would love to get you involved. And I actually prepared a slideshow, which I can share here in just a moment. Let's see. 1 second, sorry. Can you guys all see the slideshow?
Yep.
Sweet. All right. So what we really do, we actually have an annual fundraiser every year for the student food pantry from the Office of Advancement. We call it Roadrunner Tuesday. I don't know if you guys know what Giving Tuesday is, but there is an annual day of giving. It's international. Hundreds of thousands of organizations are probably involved in this. And we've kind of piggybacked on that over the last almost decade or so. With our own sort of day of giving, mini day of giving, focused at least in the last 5 years on the Roadrunner Food Pantry. So I wanted to tell you a little bit about that. It's the first Tuesday after Thanksgiving every year. This year it's November 29th. We focus on the food pantry, of course. If you were to look around in the nonprofit industry, you'd find things all over the spectrum, but that's what we've been focusing on. We focus on the Roadrunner Food Pantry because, and you probably already know some of this if you guys are already interested in helping out, but 60% of students experienced at least one form of basic needs insecurity. That's here on the MSU Denver campus. This is based on a survey that was done roughly last year, about a year and a half ago. 39% of respondents could not afford to eat balanced meals. 39% of respondents worried about running out of food before having money to buy more. That's a big deal. That's a really huge issue. The food pantry, as it stands right now, actually served a little over 1,300 students last year, which was a 55% increase since before the pandemic. And because of that need, and because that need has grown so much, they're actually moving to a new space this fall. Hopefully in the middle of November. Essentially, they're going from a 100 square foot space to a 1,000 square foot space next to the bookstore in the TIV, which is really exciting. We're really looking forward to that. And they're going to be able to serve, they think, about 600 students a week from that space eventually. So that's a huge need. And like I was saying, it's growing every year. So we in the Office of Advancement know we can reach out to our alumni. We can fundraise for this. We can help this very important aspect of campus and make sure it thrives, so our students can get the resources they need to continue their education, be healthy, all of that stuff. So anyway, we've been supporting this for the past 5 years, and we've grown almost every year. You can see last year we had an awesome year. We raised $15,500 for the student food pantry. We try to bring in as many donors as we can. We actually bring in a couple of large donors every year too. We have something, I don't know if you guys are familiar with matches, but we'll reach out to someone who maybe can give more than the average person. We'll do sort of like a match challenge. Let's say they give $1,000, and then if we can raise $1,000, it unlocks that match and basically doubles the amount that we fundraised. So we're looking to do something like that this year as well. We are talking about internally setting a goal of $18,000, which is about $3,000 more than last year. We want to have about 200 donors, so it'll be a big deal for us this year for Roadrunner Tuesday, and we want to get more students involved, which is kind of where our worlds might be colliding right now. So we've traditionally reached out to alumni, friends of the university, via email, social media, all that good stuff. But we want to really see what we can do with the students on campus. And so when we heard you guys were interested in maybe helping out the food pantry, we wanted to kind of seize that opportunity to talk to you all about how you might be able to help us and how we might be able to help you if this is something that you're interested in doing. So anyway, there we go. We have a ton of different ways to fundraise. We have it's called Give Campus. It's basically a crowdfunding website that we support. It's MSU Denver branded. We can run all types of fundraising campaigns in there. we do that every year for Roadrunner Tuesday. What we want to do a lot more of is talk with our peers, our students on campus. We want to kind of increase the outreach that we have on social media to get more people to kind of retweet or repost or whatever, to kind of spread the awareness of the event, especially to students, to alumni too, of course, but students we feel like we haven't really had a great connection with yet. So we want to try to leverage that a little bit more. So like I was saying, we have a ton of tools. Within that crowdfunding tool I was mentioning, Give Campus, we can set up competitions, basically where we would give you a unique link, either individually or by a group, and you can compete with one another to see who can raise the most money for the organization. We have the ability to set up tabling on campus. I'm sure you guys are all familiar with that. So you can just kind of sit there and talk to students in person. Crowdfunding I've already mentioned. And then we do some campus outreach, which was something we're going to do maybe new this year. And we're going to have maybe posters printed off, signs that we're going to post around campus, just so there's more visibility and awareness. But anyway, one thing I wanted to mention is that I know there's been talk about budget transfers. That's not technically philanthropic giving, at least as far as we're concerned. We wouldn't be able to count that legally towards our crowdfunding campaign. There's lots of rules that we're kind of restricted by. So it's really great that you guys are thinking about doing that. We just can't count it towards our fundraising totals. And then obviously cash donations. One popular way to help food pantries obviously is to collect cans of food and all those types of things on campus, which is great. And I'm not discounting that, but what we like to tell people is that cash donations to the food pantry let them spend the money that they need to spend on what they actually need to give to folks. So if they're having a food drive on campus and they get 30 cans of beans and they really need toothbrushes, that's kind of a bummer for them. So cash lets them actually go out and buy those toothbrushes, which is why it's really important. They can actually just kind of choose where they're spending their budgeted funds and help people out in the most effective and efficient way that they can. So anyway, that's my spiel. I think we heard from Armando actually that you guys were interested in doing this. So I'm kind of coming in without knowing too much, and I'll send these slides over to him. This obviously is a very simple slideshow, so you guys can have that, and you'll have mine and my boss Bree. She couldn't be here today, our email, so you can reach out to us. But we wanted to ask you guys what exactly you might be interested in doing or how we can help you, if anyone has any ideas. Of course, you don't have to know right now. You can always reach out to us. But are there any questions or ideas you want to toss around that maybe we can have a quick discussion about today while I'm here?
Reed, do you have something to say?
I do, and I'm sure a lot of us would like to ask questions, but Evan, I'd like to start by asking you for this Roadrunner Tuesday. Are you making a big event around it aside from social media, which of course we can support too with social media? Is there something planned for tabling that we can assist with physically, wear shirts, give out prizes in exchange for donations, some kind of game activity on campus that we can be part of?
Yeah, we're still kind of in the planning stages right now. We
Okay.
actually had a brainstorming last week, and those things are on the table. One thing that we struggle with as an office is personnel. There's only so many of us. So we do want to do those things, but it would be easier if we were to get a group like student government involved. We could have multiple sites on campus with tables. We wouldn't have to be in just one space or something like that. So we do want to. I brought up the idea of competitions and things like that. We would love to do stuff on campus that's fun, exciting, that students would really like to get involved in. So, if you have ideas or if you think there's something that you've heard people are interested in doing, or, if there's a really cool, I don't know, lawn game that people are interested or something, we would love to support that. We have funds, we have some budgeted funds that we can also provide to pay for things. If we can provide an extra table on campus that you guys are interested in manning and doing something like that, we're all for it.
Okay, and I also just as follow on, are you engaging with these whale donors or other donors of different sizes to also participate particularly in this? And then how much of it have you earmarked for the food pantry? And I'll ask you one more question after that, but this is about the food pantry, I'm understanding, but then do you have room in your budget to consider other donor outreach for your alumni, if we're doing other activities that would help students on campus or organizations on campus, which are part of our goals.
Yeah, absolutely. So we well, I'll call them whales because I think that's a fun way to refer to them. But we do reach out to the whales, our major donors every year. We usually have a handful that are going to help with this particular event. On Roadrunner Tuesday, we only focus on the food pantry. So our fundraiser that day is strictly for that. But we do spread out our fundraising efforts throughout the year. We support like the Student Emergency Fund. We help clubs, we help athletics. I mean, there's a whole broad array of things that we actually fundraise for. And we have a bigger day of giving in the spring in March, which is sort of like our MSU Day of Giving, which is separate from this. But for this particular day, we're only focusing on the food pantry. But anyway, we do have other outreach planned. It won't just be social media and email. We're actually going to do a postcard this year, sort of like a save the date style thing, to all of our alumni that we have valid addresses for. So they'll be aware the event is coming. We're going to kind of have like a whole lead up to this actual day where we're going to have like a countdown on a web page. We'll be reaching out to them ahead of time. They can set a calendar reminder. We're going to send up like a widget where they can add that to their calendars and stuff. So we're really trying to make this an event, so to speak. So it is a big deal to us. This is one of our favorite days of the year to fundraise. And what was your third question? Sorry.
No, I mean, that was it. Just for other initiatives, you've covered that. And I will email you with some ideas. And I feel like the Faculty Student Affairs Committee could also help in reaching students too.
Awesome. Thank you, Ree. Alan.
Yes, Evan, I wanted to ask you, do you participate in the Colorado Giving Day that's statewide?
We do. We register and essentially put our information on. I believe they have their own webpage for it, but we haven't traditionally done a ton of work around that. We'll do some social media stuff on that day, but we haven't really focused on Colorado. I think it's Colorado Gives Day. I don't recall exactly, but
yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Paul.
So hello, Evan. I thank you for being here and for your presentation. I'm really excited to see other people who are just see the necessity of like the food pantry being like fully funded. I love the stats. I'm a stats guy, and when you brought that out, I was like, yes. I see some of those figures. All that aside, though, I help facilitate the chess club here on campus, and we are in the early stages of planning like a tournament. And I know that this campus has actually hosted very big tournaments in the past, not under the auspices of like our chess club, but under like Denver Chess. And I think that might be an opportunity, maybe as like a competition of sorts to try and like, maybe I got to look closer at the rules for whether or not we can charge for entry or something like that. Especially if this was all going towards, this project here, this Tuesday giving, or since we're in the earlier stages, if it's after the fact, I don't know. I'm going to shoot you an email about some of this stuff. It's just a thought that's beginning to broach. And so maybe that'd be a way we could get some funding for this project.
Yeah, absolutely. And you kind of bring up a good point. One thing that we can do with the crowdfunding page I mentioned and the competitions thing, we can actually set up a page for you. So if in the event, even if you couldn't charge admission, you could potentially have a laptop at the event. You could call people's attention over to it. You could have your actual unique webpage up there. They can make a gift right there on the spot. So maybe you couldn't, charge a fee to get in, but you could voluntarily ask people to make a gift. Just while they're attending or something like that. It's totally possible.
Awesome. I like the creativity with the solution there. I'll send you that email. I appreciate the answer.
Awesome. Yeah.
Any other council members have any questions, comments for Evan? Chad.
You said that your organization is having issues gathering people to help with this. Are you open to council members potentially helping with this? My major is public relations, and this sounds like it could easily fall into the same category.
Yeah, absolutely. We're always looking for help. We're always looking for volunteers on our big fundraising days. What I would tell you is if you or even a group of people are interested in helping, reach out to me via email. Like I said earlier, we would love to have multiple spots on campus where we're just calling attention to Roadrunner Tuesday, talking to students. One thing that we're really trying to get into in the next few years is developing this sort of culture of philanthropy, I guess I would call it. It's not always clear when you're a student that fundraising pays for a lot of things on campus. A lot of scholarships are almost exclusively donor funded, things like that. Roadrunner Tuesday we see as kind of like a way we can get on campus and teach our students why fundraising and philanthropy is so important for the university. Obviously, your tuition pays for a lot of things, but when you graduate and when you do get that nice job after you've graduated and everything, it's giving back is a big deal, and it really helps students that kind of follow along the path that you've already walked down. We don't want people to pull up the ladder. We want them to keep it there so other folks can climb up after them, I guess is what I'm saying. Yeah.
Thank you, Chad. Alex.
Hi. Yeah, I was just going to raise my hand to basically say that I would be open to help with anything that you might need. The food pantry is something that I am really passionate about. So yeah, just let me know however I can help.
He's going to have an email, and his email in that presentation that he shares. That'd probably be a good avenue to reach out for him and just let him know, just to keep on that radar, Alex. Thank you. Anybody else? Well, going twice. Okay, Evan, thank you so much.
Right. Yep. Thank you all for having me. I'm going to bow out here, but like I said, email me if you have any questions.
Thank you very much. Are you going to share the presentation then with us?
Yep, I will give it to Armando, and I think he can share it with all of you after that. So
perfect. All right, thanks.
Thanks, guys.
Right. All right. So new business. That was A. B. Taylor, the floor is yours for this on-campus housing for all students, the resolution. Thank you.
Wonderful. So I have given out this resolution to you all. I've kind of talked a little bit about it, but I'll just read through the important parts. We'll start with the abstract. So Auraria campus and Metropolitan State University today have a unique student population. There are many traditional students, but there are also many non-traditional students, specifically students who have dependents and are unhoused. Many of these students may be raising children, taking care of an elderly parent, or supporting a disabled relative. There are housing options on the Auraria campus for traditional students, but none for students with dependents or students without housing resources. Why should some students have unequal access to housing? There should be housing options on campus for students who have children or take care of elderly parents. At other universities, University of Illinois, University of California, Santa Cruz, University of Colorado Boulder, to name a few, this idea has been successfully implemented. Having family burdens should not prevent one from obtaining a degree. Having a lack of housing should not prevent one from getting a degree. The lack of housing options specifically for non-traditional students has been a failure of the institutions that make up Auraria campus. But I propose each institution make up for it by planning for the future. I propose MSU Denver add affordable non-traditional student housing to their strategic plan. So every student has the opportunity to live on campus if they choose. Now I'm going to read the whereas section. Whereas supporting a family can be a barrier to achieving a higher education. What's that? Okay. Achieving higher education, and MSU Denver follows the cadre values, which means following the values community, accessibility, diversity, respect, and excellence. Exclusionary student housing is anti-community, anti-accessibility, anti-diversity, anti-respect, and anti-excellence. Whereas the creation of Auraria campus destroyed a community, MSU Denver now has the opportunity to support the construction of a new community. Whereas MSU Denver has a history of supporting students with families, the Auraria Early Learning Center. This is a quote from Emily Nelson, the director of the Auraria Early Learning Center. Since 1996, we have had 12 classrooms. So I'm sure we have served upwards of 8,000 children during that time. This semester, a parent had to withdraw because she could not obtain student housing with her child and ultimately had to stop attending classes. Whereas off-campus rentals are now going for over $2,000 a month for a multiple bedroom unit, making housing an enormous financial barrier to achieving a degree. Whereas 72% of students applied to receive assistance with rent in the summer of 2022 alone, meaning an incredibly large of MSU Denver students are at risk of either homelessness or dropping out due to lack of affordable housing options. Whereas 19.57% of MSU Denver students enrolled in fall 2021 were over 29 years old, thus more likely to have families to support. Whereas it is known that MSU Denver administration is currently working on housing projects for students, faculty, and staff. Housing must be inclusive and prioritize students. Now I will read the therefore sections. Therefore, SGTSAC calls on MSU Denver administration to add affordable on-campus student housing options for all students, especially those with dependents, to the strategic plan. Therefore, SGTSAC calls on CCD's SGA, CU Denver's SGA, and SACAB to echo this call to their own higher-ups to demand on-campus housing for students with dependents. That is my resolution. Now, next steps, I guess.
Thank you so much. So let's open up the floor to talk about this. Sorry,
I had one thing I wanted to add too.
Yes.
So I collaborated on this document with Emily Nelson, who is the director of the Area Early Learning Center, and Abigail Kell, who is the student housing project manager. It's also endorsed by our very own Gabe Trujillo, who has experienced these types of problems before.
Great work, Taylor. So the floor is open. I guess we would start with anybody who's against it, but let's hope, yeah. And then if not, then let's just open the floor up first. But I guess if you're against it, let's hear it. If not, the floor is open. Go ahead, Mike.
I'm not against this in any means. I was going to say, I think this is well done, Taylor. I love this a lot. I'll be proud to take this to SACAB, and I'll be proud to take this to ABOT as well. So when this passes, I definitely think this is absolutely something should be brought up at the president's cabinet meeting that's coming up in October, in ECHA, because I know they're building housing, but I don't know if it specifically prioritizes students. So I think this is, if we pass this, we need to be very vocal about this, I believe.
I agree, Mike. Paul?
Given the nature and writing of the resolution, I think we should just call the question. I don't hear much in the way of like people. Yeah, so I call the question. Let's vote on this. And is anyone second that?
So the chair recognizes Paul's motion to call it to question and vote on it. Recognizes the second by Mike to do the same. And so, anyone opposed? Hearing none. All right. Alan?
Yes.
Alex?
Aye.
Chad?
Aye.
James?
Yeah, James isn't here.
I thought I saw him online.
He's in the chat.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
Oh, thank you.
My goodness.
Mike?
Yes.
Naomi?
Yes.
Paul?
Happy to support it. Yes.
Bree?
Enthusiastic, aye.
Taylor?
Yes.
Stephanie, are you here? No. Okay. And well, hold on. I got to vote. It passes. Thank you. I vote aye. Thank you, council.
Wait for you to vote.
All right. So, council, Taylor, thank you.
Thank you.
Motion passes unanimously with those who are here. And so on with the agenda. C, this is the resolution for Indigenous Peoples Day. Taylor, the floor is yours.
Naomi, do you want to speak on this?
Naomi, the floor is yours.
Awesome. So big shout out to Taylor because he actually came forward to me and wanted to present this and asked for my input on this. So I greatly appreciate him coming up with the original idea and allowing me to participate in this as well. And he did a really great job the first time around. I just made some tweaks here and there. All right, cool. So the Student Government, Student Advocacy Council of Metropolitan State University of Denver This is MSU. We are asking for CR 22-17 MSU campus closed for Indigenous Peoples Day and replacing it with Columbus Day. So written by myself and Taylor Lucas. So here's some previous definitions just to give you guys some context. Indigenous. It's the original stewards of the land is where the term indigenous comes from. Until colonization, they are the healers and protectors of the land. They have lost so much of their social structure, culture, economy, and political characteristics and practices that are distinct from those stereotypical of America. Maintaining these aspects of their livelihood has been a challenge navigating through colonialism, yet they have still managed to make themselves known in society proudly. So our abstract is America has a long history since 1492 and even further back of exploiting and erasing the Indigenous peoples from society. Indigenous Peoples Day is supposed to honor and give reparations to Indigenous people and educate non-Indigenous people on the genocide of Indigenous people, how to act on restoring the land to its original state by means of Indigenous jurisdiction and management. While campus is closed for some holidays, Indigenous Peoples Day is not one of them, but it should be and act as a replacement of Columbus Day. Treating Indigenous Peoples Day as just another day is an abomination due to the genocide committed at the hands of America on Indigenous people. In this resolution, SG/TSAC asks MSU Denver to close campus for Indigenous Peoples Day and recognize it as a replacement to Columbus Day so that MSU Denver Indigenous community students can be rightfully honored and the non-Indigenous community can use the day to act and educate themselves. Whereas MSU Denver has the ability to close campus by their own discretion, whereas from 2018 to 2021, MSU Denver employees received December 30th off in lieu of Columbus Day. Indigenous Peoples Day must replace Columbus Day, and it must be celebrated. Whereas Indigenous students have a history of feeling unsupported by MSU Denver, whereas Indigenous Peoples Day was recognized as a federal holiday by President Joe Biden. Whereas Indigenous Peoples Day honors the past, present, and futures of Indigenous peoples throughout the U.S., the holiday recognizes the legacy and impact of colonialism on Indigenous communities, and it also celebrates the cultures, contribution, and resilience of contemporary Indigenous people. Whereas Columbus Day glorifies the genocide of Indigenous people, and its celebration is not okay. Whereas the celebration of Peoples Day is a day of learning about Indigenous people, their history, and their community issues, and celebrating their resilience and culture. Therefore, SG/TSAC calls on MSU Denver administration to close campus every year on the second Monday of October. Therefore, SG/TSAC calls on MSU Denver administration to build a policy where students can be given optional academic incentive by attending an Indigenous event on Indigenous Peoples Day and writing about their experience on that day, so the holiday is honored and not just a day off.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay, well, again, let's open the floor up to discussion on this. Anybody have anybody opposed to this? Yeah. Alan, go ahead.
I'm not opposed to this. I just had a question to ask Naomi, or anybody for that matter. Are we currently closed on campus on Columbus Day?
Yes.
We do. Okay.
We are not closed. Our campus is not closed during Columbus Day.
It's on December 30th, right?
On December 30th, it
On
is.
observation of
It's
Columbus Day.
It's
staff.
That's for staff. That's in lieu of it. But Columbus Day is actually next Monday.
But so is this just taking one day and then replacing it with another one, basically, with a different name? I mean, as far as the day off is concerned?
Yes, so the whole point of this is to recognize it at a university level and then spread this to other universities and then so on and so forth. If we don't recognize it as Columbus Day, but we recognize it as Indigenous Peoples Day, and we provide that incentive for students to go and get educated on that day off, and then they go do it, then you're therefore spreading awareness about it, and then this could create another opportunity for, further, exploration of getting this to be passed on a local level, then a state level, then federal level, things of that sort. So if we put these things in motion now, it's going to give them incentive to already go on with the ongoing trend on a more federal level. Because if we can present something like this to the Senate or anything like that, they will then be able to be like, well, it would be a process. And it's like, it wouldn't be a process because we've already started the movement and you don't even have to change the day. You literally just have to change the name on the calendar.
Okay. Thank you, Naomi. I appreciate the information.
Thank you, Alan. Thank you, Naomi. Anybody else? Oh, Bree, hi.
Love this idea of the nomenclature to the change of the name, especially because of what Columbus stood for, and the idea of changing the name. I don't necessarily agree with the restriction and the on the date, because I think there's a certain number of days we have to be in class, and creating a new day that the university has to close can have a cascading effect and extend our campus time. But the idea of a campaign and the reason that we changed this name, I'm all for that. That's just my input.
Thank you. Reed, or I mean, Naomi, do you want to respond to that?
Do we have Martin Luther King Jr. Day off?
Yes. Yes, we do.
Okay.
Cool. So why does that make him any more important than us when he was here after Indigenous people? So if we're going to talk about not getting a specific day off, then they need to compromise that. And if they really want to start a fight, then you're going to get the Indigenous students and the Black students on campus, African American, BIPOC community in general of color that specifically are responsible for those or who are more in tune with those two holidays. They're going to be beefing with the school. So I think it's better to go ahead and attack this in a situation where we deserve this day too, mainly because we were here first. Y'all are on stolen land. And I get where you're coming from because that will cause an administrative problem, but that's not our problem. That's the administration's problem. They need to fix that. And they should have thought about that before they even opened up the school. This is part of holding them accountable for the systematic change that needs to happen. And this isn't something that we just need to let bypass over our heads and say that we need to be compromisable on the date. No. That's why I'm saying like it'll still hold academic responsibility and accountability for the students. You will not be considered another day off because you will get that extra credit incentive. And I don't know about y'all, but I'm a biology major. I need all the extra credit I could get. So that means that they're going to be educating themselves within that area. And if we can plan it correctly, we can do something that's for each department that can add on to, Indigenous culture that applies to every degree, whether it's health and wellness or physical activity, exercise science, or biology, STEM, just anything in general. We can incorporate that. We can fix that later. But we need to get this put on the agenda, on the calendar immediately because our people deserve that. And it's part of reparations. And I'm sorry, but unfortunately, we are the only people on the American land who deserve reparations.
Well,
we were here first.
Not the only, but definitely it's very important that it's represented, but definitely not the only. Alan, go ahead.
Yes, Naomi, I really want to vote for this. Would you consider it a friendly amendment to take out the word genocide? I think that creates a lot of different kinds of feelings. I really want to vote for this bill. I do. I just wonder if you would consider it a friendly amendment that we could just address that one word in this. So it's
Alan,
maybe
let
not
me
so
stop
harsh.
you there. Are you
Yeah.
even aware of what the term genocide means? They took over 100 million acres worth of land and slaughtered our people beyond even comprehensive. Hitler got his mechanisms from Andrew Jackson. It is exactly genocide. It is one of the first genocides that happened in the Americas. No.
So you would not consider it a friendly amendment. So you guys, Native Americans didn't kill people as well. I mean, I think people were being mean on both sides, and it was a war, and it was unfortunate.
Alan,
And I really, yeah.
No, we can't do that. All right, we're gonna want to call the question.
Yeah, let me
Call.
So I know I'll get to you next, Mike. I just wanted to say that we ought to consider the time where we're at in regards to the time. We want to make sure we have time for public comment. I want to, I'm not going to make the motion now, but we ought to call the question here because I know there's some division on some of the details, but I think overwhelmingly there's a support of it as it's written. Mike, what do you want to say?
I support this. I just want to make sure we know what the next steps are, that we can go to the administration after this. I think this should be absolutely said. I mean, I could take this to SACAB as well. I just need to know generally the next steps you the plan are. So, but that's basically a comment.
I motion we end discussion and call the question, put this to a vote.
So the chair recognizes Paul for the motion to call the question to vote. Is there a second? Paul recognizes Taylor the chair recognizes Taylor for a second on that. So we'll call the question. We'll bring it to a vote. Alan.
Yes.
Alex. Chad.
Yes.
James. Alex said aye. James said aye. Mike.
Aye.
Okay. Naomi.
Aye.
Paul.
Yes.
Bree.
Abstain. I think the directive on the date is too prescriptive for it to be considered as a whole.
Okay.
Can I change my vote? I'd like to abstain as well.
Okay. Taylor.
Affirmative.
Affirmative. And I will vote aye. Let's tally the votes. Passes. Thank you, Council. The resolution passes. All right. Taylor, thank you. Naomi, thank you. And Evan, thank you for presenting. And so per the agenda, we move to public comment. If you're here for public. Oh, I'm sorry, Ree. Would you like to have the floor for your amended add-on to the agenda? My apologies.
Sure, no problem. I just wanted to let everyone know to expect an email from me to all of our council tomorrow after I send it to our co-chairs for their review. I wanted to list the goals that we had all agreed upon during our retreat to work on for the year. I think you could consider the one that was passed today, that the campus housing, as one for the strategic plan as well. But I will remind you all of those goals, and I think it would behoove us to really choose one or more that you really want to be involved with, as we talked about on the retreat. How, if you'd like to reply and note a couple of ideas of how you'd like to engage with that goal, just broadly, just generally, so we can have a good start on this. And note any changes that you might have had for the vision statement and the mission statement as well, so that we can get that approved next week in our meeting. So it's really important that you look at this and reply to this email this week by Thursday. Armando, did you want to add anything?
I just want to say yes, please finish finalizing the mission, vision, goals, and all that, because we have our meeting with Dee, who is the website editor, in this coming week. So we can wrap that up.
Yep, go ahead, Paul.
I just want to say, we decided earlier this year as a council to task the Governing Documents Committee with the vision statement and the mission statement. So let's follow through with that previous decision unless we want to decide to do something else collectively, right? We can do that. Feel free to just take the efforts that you're doing. Governing Documents Committee, and we're happy to see it borne out. So just wanted to remind everyone.
Okay, so the email will be about the goals then. All right.
Awesome. Thank you, Ree. When can we expect to see that email so we can keep an eye out for it?
I will email the both of you by the end of day today, and then upon your approval, I'll send that out to everyone.
All right. As soon as I see that, I will take a look at it and move to approve it, if that's what it calls for. I'm sure Paul will as well. Thank you for that. And you said by Thursday?
I'd like to get that back so I can kind of edit it and put it in the form that we can then present to the council at the meeting, and it'll be on the agenda next Friday, and then it can go directly for Dr. Baran and Armando to be able to use.
Awesome. Thank you. All right. So now, before I so rudely almost interrupted Ree's floor time, let's move to public comment. If you are here from the public and would like to make a comment, please just quickly throw your name into the chat and the floor would be yours. Alan?
Could we add a quick motion to vote to change the name of the COVID committee to the health committee while we're here?
This committee is not our committee to do, and that could be.
Oh, it's not?
No, it's the university's committee.
Okay.
All right. Yeah, okay, so no public, going twice public. Well, we hope to hear from you soon. Thank you. For the agenda, move to adjourn the meeting. Meeting's adjourned.
Thanks, everyone. Bye.